Welcome to Money is Freedom, a podcast exploring how finance and freedom connect in our lives. Created from thoughtful research and narrated by Notebook LM AI, this series brings you clear, meaningful insights into finance and beyond.
Welcome back to episode 51. Today, we're diving into one of the most comprehensive looks at AI implementation in the software industry that I've seen this year. We're breaking down a confidential 2025 report from ICONIQ Capital that essentially serves as a roadmap for any company serious about building AI-powered products.
The pace of AI development, it feels absolutely dizzying sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Every week, something new.
Exactly. New breakthroughs, models, capabilities. But, for companies, the real challenge isn't just thinking up these cool AI ideas.
It's making them real, making them work.
Right. Turning them into actual, tangible, revenue-driving products. So how are businesses actually doing that? Building and operationalizing AI in this crazy fast market?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, this deep dive is hopefully your shortcut to understanding that how-to. We're pulling back the curtain on the real strategies, the tactics companies are using right now. And our source for this is pretty cutting edge. It's the ICONIQ 2025 State of AI report. And specifically, we're looking at the Builder's Playbook.
Yeah, and this isn't just theory. It's based on a proprietary survey they did back in April 2025.
Who they talked to?
About 300 executives. We're talking architects, engineers, product leaders, the people actually building AI products at software companies. So our mission today is really to unpack the core dimensions of this Builder's Playbook for you.
Okay.
We'll get into how they're thinking about product roadmaps, go-to-market strategies, but also the really crucial stuff like talent, managing costs, and even how they're using AI internally to boost their own productivity.
So like a blueprint from the front lines.
Exactly. Straight from the people doing the work.
Okay, building on that, let's start with who exactly are these builders they surveyed and what kind of AI are we talking about here?
Right. Good question. So the survey included CEOs, heads of engineering, AI leads, product leads, mostly from North America, about 88%. And the report makes this important distinction. It splits companies into two main types. First, you've got AI-enabled companies.
Okay, what does that mean?
Basically, they're adding AI features to existing products or maybe creating some new AI products that aren't like their core business.
Got it. And the second type?
Those are the AI-native companies. For them, AI is the core product. Their whole business model is built around generative intelligence right from the start.
Okay. AI-native versus AI-enabled. That makes sense. So here's where it gets really interesting, I think. We always hear about the breakneck speed of AI. Does this report actually confirm that these AI-native companies are moving faster, like through their product cycles?
Oh, absolutely. The data shows a really stark difference.
Yeah.
So get this, about 47% of the AI-native companies, their main AI product has already hit critical scale and proven market fit.
Wow, almost half.
Yeah. Now compare that to the AI-enabled companies. Only 13% are at that stage.
Yeah.
13.
That's a huge gap.
It is. And what's maybe even more telling, only 1% of AI-native companies are still pre-launch. Just 1%.
Yeah.
Whereas for AI-enabled, it's 11%.
So the AI natives are much further along the development path.
Exactly. It really suggests that these AI-native orgs might just be structurally better set up for this. Maybe it's their teams, their processes, their tech stack. They seem better equipped to validate ideas and scale them effectively. They're kind of built for AI speed from day one.
That definitely sounds like a significant operational advantage. So, okay, across both these types of companies, what are the most common kinds of AI products they're actually building right now?
Well, the report points strongly towards agentic workflows.
Agentic workflows. Remind us what that means exactly.
Sure. Think of them as automated AI systems that can kind of make decisions and take actions on their own to achieve a specific goal. They're more autonomous.
Okay. Goal-oriented AI.
Right. That and the application layer in general are the most common things being built. But what's really noteworthy is that around 80% of the AI native companies are currently building these agentic workflows.
80%. That's huge.
It really shows a strong trend towards these more complex autonomous AI systems.
Okay, that leads particularly to the next question. How are they actually building these things? Are they mostly using existing models, building their own from scratch, or is it more of a mix?
It's definitely a blend, but there's a clear lean towards using what's already out there.
Yeah, okay.
A big majority, 80% of companies building AI apps, are relying on third-party AI APIs. calling out to OpenAI, Anthropic, etc.
Makes sense. It's faster.
Right. But the picture changes a bit when you look specifically at the high-growth companies.
How so?
Well, a larger chunk of them, about 77%, are also fine-tuning existing foundation models. And over half, 54%, are even developing their own proprietary models from scratch.
Ah, okay. So the high-growth players are doing more customization and building their own tech.
Yeah, which isn't too surprising, right? They often have more resources, and maybe more importantly, they have that critical need for really deep enterprise-specific customization that you might not get from an off-the-shelf API.
That distinction for high-growth companies is really key. So when companies are choosing these foundational models, especially for customer-facing stuff, what's driving those decisions? What do they care about most?
Accuracy. Model accuracy is hands down the top priority. 74% ranked it in their top 3.
Okay, accuracy first. No surprise there.
No, but what is fascinating and a noticeable shift this year is cost. Cost ranked much higher, 57%. Put it in their top 3.
Really? Cost is becoming that important.
Yeah, and it really echoes this idea that the model layer itself is becoming, well, somewhat commoditized. If the basic capabilities of the big models are getting closer, then cost naturally becomes a much bigger factor in the decision.
That makes total sense. If they all perform well, price matters more. What else is important?
Privacy is still a big one, at 41%. And the ability to fine-tune or customize the model, that's key for 34%.
Okay, accuracy, cost, privacy, customizability. Got it. And speaking of choices, who are the big players? Which model providers are most popular right now? And is there like a trend in how companies are mixing and matching models?
Well, OpenAI's GPT models are still the dominant force.
Right.
Used by 95% of the respondents. Huge penetration.
95%. Okay.
But, and this is crucial for strategy, many companies are increasingly adopting a multi-model approach. They're not just sticking to one.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, they're leveraging different providers, different models, probably optimizing for different tasks within their products. On average, respondents are using about 2.8 models.
Almost 3 different models on average. Wow.
Exactly. It suggests this strategic flexibility is becoming the norm. Maybe you use one model for summarization, another for coding, another for chat.
Makes sense. Besides OpenAI, who else is commonly used?
Anthropic's Claude models are up there, Google's Gemini, and Meta's Llama models too. Those are the main ones mentioned frequently after GPT.
Okay, so they choose their models, often more than one.
Right.
But how do they get them ready for prime time? What are the most common training techniques they're using to hit that accuracy and performance bar?
2 main techniques really stand out. First is retrieval augmented generation, or RAG.
RAG, right. That's where the model pulls in external data.
Exactly. It retrieves relevant info from a knowledge base before generating a response. Super useful for grounding the AI. That's used by 66% overall and even slightly higher, 69% for high-growth companies.
Okay, RAG is big. What's the other main one?
Fine-tuning. Taking a pre-trained model and adapting it to your specific task or data set. That's also really common. 68% overall, 67% for high growth.
So RAG and fine-tuning are the workhorses.
Pretty much. Although it's interesting, the high-growth companies also tend to use a wider variety of prompt-based techniques. Things like few-shot learning.
Giving the model a few examples.
Right, that's at 49% for them. And even zero-shot learning, where the model does the task with no examples, that's at 25%. It suggests they're doing more sophisticated prompt engineering over there.
Okay. And what about the underlying tech, the AI infrastructure? How are companies actually deploying these models? Where are they running them?
The vast majority are leaning really heavily into fully managed AI solutions.
Meaning the cloud providers.
Yeah. About 68% operate entirely in the cloud. And 64% are relying on those external AI API providers we talked about.
So they're outsourcing the infrastructure complexity.
Exactly. It minimizes the upfront investment, buying servers and all that. It reduces the operational headache, and crucially, it maximizes their speed to market. Less time managing infrastructure, more time building the actual product features.
Makes sense. What about hybrid or on-prem?
Still niche, really. Hybrid models around 23%.
Yeah.
At running things fully on-premise. That's fewer than 1 in 10 companies. The momentum is clearly towards cloud and managed services.
Okay, so they're pushing for rapid deployment using cloud and APIs, but this raises an important question. What are the biggest hurdles they're hitting when they actually try to put these AI models into production? What are the roadblocks?
Yeah, the report highlights some key challenges. Top of the list, hallucinations.
Ah, the AI making stuff up.
Exactly. When the AI generates confident but totally incorrect or nonsensical information, that's the biggest pain point for 39% of respondents.
Okay, number 1 challenge. What's next?
Right behind it is explainability and trust at 38%. Basically, understanding why the AI made a certain decision and getting users to actually trust the output.
That seems crucial, especially for business applications.
Totally. And the third biggest challenge is proving ROI return on investment at 34%, showing that the AI is actually delivering tangible business value. And it's worth noting that explainability and trust issue. It ranked even higher for companies building AI for specific verticals, especially in regulated industries like finance or healthcare. Transparency and compliance are non-negotiable there.
Those are definitely persistent challenges. Hallucinations, trust, ROI. It really drives home that building AI isn't just about the tech. It's about managing its impact and proving its worth.
Absolutely.
So as these AI products get more mature, as they start scaling, how are companies thinking about performance monitoring? Does that become more critical over time?
Oh, definitely. The data shows a clear shift. When a product is pre-launch, about 75% have no formal monitoring in place.
Wow, 3/4 are flying blind initially.
Kinda, yeah. But once those products start scaling, that number drops sharply. Only 31% of scaling products lack formal monitoring.
Okay, so monitoring becomes standard practice as you scale.
Right. And you even see a move towards more sophisticated approaches. About 12% of those scaling products are already using fully automated monitoring and retraining pipelines, continuous optimization.
Okay, that makes sense. You mentioned agentic workflows earlier, those autonomous AI systems as a big trend, especially for AI natives. Where do those stand in terms of actual deployment right now? Are companies putting AI agents into production, or is it still mostly experimental?
Well, a lot of companies are definitely evaluating them, but there's a clear gap in actual deployment. The high-growth AI companies are much further ahead here. About 47% of them are actively deploying AI agents in production.
Okay, almost half of the high-growth ones.
Yeah. Compare that to all the other companies. Only 23% are actively deploying agents. So high growth is definitely leading the charge on putting these more advanced AI systems to work.
Got it. Okay, let's pivot a bit towards strategy now. Thinking about the product roadmap. How much of a typical company's roadmap is now focused on AI-driven features, and how are they pricing this stuff?
Right. So for the AI-enabled companies, those adding AI onto existing products, they're dedicating around 20-35% of their product roadmap to AI features.
20 to 35%. Okay.
But again, the high-growth companies are pushing that boundary. They're dedicating closer to 30-45% of their roadmap to AI.
So AI is taking up a bigger chunk of development effort, especially for the fast movers. What about pricing? How do you charge for AI?
That's still evolving, it seems.
Yeah.
Many companies are using a hybrid model. They'll combine their standard subscription or plan-based pricing with something extra, maybe usage-based pricing for AI calls, or maybe outcome-based pricing.
Interesting.
Specifically for the AI features themselves, about 40% are bundling them into a premium tier product. So you'd pay more to get the AI goodness.
And upsell.
Exactly. And about a third, 33%, are including AI features at no extra cost, which kind of reinforces this idea that AI is often seen as a tiebreaker or upsell hook right now, rather than a standalone profit center just yet.
So use AI to win the deal or get them onto a higher plan.
Pretty much, but it's definitely in flux. About 37% of respondents said they're actively exploring totally new pricing models, maybe based purely on consumption or ROI delivered or different usage tiers. So the industry is still figuring out the best way to capture the value of AI directly.
Yeah, it sounds like the monetization playbook is still being written. Okay, with all this focus on AI products, what about the crucial areas like explainability, transparency, compliance, governance? How are companies handling these as their AI scales up?
It definitely becomes more critical as you scale. Providing detailed transparency reports about the models or even just basic insights into how the AI is influencing outcomes, that becomes really important for building and maintaining user trust.
Makes sense. Are they putting formal policies in place?
Most companies say they have some guardrails around AI ethics and governance. About 2/3, 66%, say they practice basic compliance with data privacy laws like GDPR or CCPA.
Okay, basic compliance. What about ensuring fairness and safety?
A significant number, 38%, are using human-in-the-loop oversight. Basically, having people review or monitor the AI's decisions to catch potential biases or errors. That seems to be a key practical step right now.
So putting all this together, What does it mean for building the right team, the right organization around AI? Are we seeing dedicated AI leadership emerge? What kind of talent are they hunting for?
Yeah, dedicated leadership is definitely becoming more common, especially as companies grow. Between 50 and 61% of companies with over $100 million in revenue have dedicated AI or ML leadership roles.
Okay, so scale drives the need for specific leadership.
Seems like it. Probably because the operational complexity just ramps up significantly. In terms of specific roles they're hiring for, the most common are AML engineers. That's 88% of companies.
The core builders.
Right. Then data scientists at 72%, and AI product managers at 54%. Those PMs who really understand AI are becoming crucial.
And which roles are hardest to fill?
Interestingly, the report says AML engineers take the longest time to hire on average, about 70 days.
70 days. Wow, that really highlights how specialized and in demand that talent is.
It really does.
So given that demand, how are companies feeling about their hiring speed for AI talent overall? Are they keeping up?
It's pretty much split down the middle. About 54% feel they are not hiring fast enough.
Okay, just over half feel they're behind. And why is that?
The main reason cited by 60% of those who feel they're behind is simply a lack of qualified candidates.
The talent crunch is real.
Seems like it. The demand is outstripping the supply of experienced AI professionals.
And looking at the bigger picture within engineering teams, what slice of the pie are companies dedicating specifically to AI work?
On average, companies are planning to have about 20–30% of their entire engineering team focused on AI.
20 to 30%, that's a significant chunk.
It is. And again, high-growth companies are aiming even higher. They're targeting around 37% of their engineering team focused on AI by 2026.
37%. That really shows a strategic commitment, doesn't it? AI isn't just a side project, it's becoming a core part of engineering.
Exactly. It's moving from an add-on to a fundamental discipline.
Okay, let's unpack the economics of this. All this building, scaling, hiring, it obviously comes with a significant cost. What are companies actually spending on AI development, and which costs are the trickiest to get a handle on?
Right, the budget question. Companies are allocating a pretty substantial slice, roughly 10–20% of their total R&D budget specifically to AI development.
10 to 20% of R&D.
Wow. Yeah, and most of them plan to increase that spend in 2025, so the investment is growing. What's interesting is how the cost mix changes as AI products scale. Initially, talent might be a bigger proportion of the cost, but as you scale, the cost of talent tends to decrease proportionally, while infrastructure and compute costs really start to climb.
So it shifts from upfront people investment to ongoing operational costs.
Exactly. And when you ask what's hardest to control, API usage fees come out on top. 70% of respondents cited those as the most challenging infrastructure cost.
70%. Why are API fees so hard to manage?
Probably the unpredictability. It's a variable cost tied directly to how much your product is used, how many calls it makes to external models. It can fluctuate a lot and be hard to forecast accurately.
I can see that being a headache. What other costs are challenging?
Inference costs, the actual cost of running the models to generate predictions, that's a big one too, at 49%. And the cost of model retraining and updates is right behind it at 48%. Keeping the models fresh and performant isn't cheap.
So if those API usage fees and inference costs are the big pain points, what are companies doing to try and get those costs under control? What optimization strategies are they using?
They're primarily exploring two main routes right now. First, about 41% are looking at moving towards open source models.
To reduce dependency on paid APIs.
Exactly. If you host your own open source model, you might have higher infrastructure costs, but you avoid those per call API fees. The second main strategy, cited by 37%, is optimizing inference efficiency.
Making the models run faster and cheaper.
Right, using techniques like quantization, pruning, or deploying specialized hardware to reduce the compute needed for each prediction.
Makes sense to tackle the API dependency and make the models themselves cheaper to run. What about the specific costs for things like, say, model training versus inference as these products mature? Do we have numbers on how those scale?
We do, and the scaling is pretty dramatic. For model training or fine-tuning, most companies are doing this at least monthly. The estimated monthly cost for this, it starts around $163,000 for pre-launch products.
Okay, $163K a month even before launch.
Yeah. But then it skyrockets. For products that are scaling, that monthly training cost jumps to an estimated $1.5 million.
Wow, from $163K to $1.5 million a month. That's almost a tenfold increase. It's huge. And inference costs, they surge right after launch. And here again, high-growth companies are spending significantly more.
How much more?
At the general availability GA stage, high-growth companies are spending around $1.6 million monthly on inference, compared to $1.0 million for their peers. And at the scaling stage, it's $2.3 million for high growth versus $1.1 million for others.
So double the inference cost for high-growth companies at scale.
Roughly, yeah. And it's not just compute. Data storage and processing costs also climb steeply after GA. Again, high-growth companies are spending more there too. Managing the data becomes a bigger financial piece of the puzzle as you scale.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. Beyond building customer-facing products, how are companies using AI internally, to boost their own productivity? What kind of investment are we seeing there?
This is a really interesting area. The report shows that annual budgets for internal AI productivity tools are set to nearly double in 2025 across all company sizes.
Double. Okay, so internal AI is getting serious investment. How much are they spending relative to revenue? It varies, but typically somewhere between 1% and 8% of total company revenue is being allocated to internal AI productivity efforts.
And where's that budget coming from? Still R&D?
R&D is still the most common source at 59%. But interestingly, headcount budgets are also being tapped at 23%.
Headcount budgets. So they're potentially funding AI tools instead of hiring more people.
It certainly suggests they're viewing these tools as a way to enhance the productivity of their existing workforce, maybe offsetting the need for additional hires in some areas. It signals that internal AI is moving beyond just R&D experiments and becoming part of core operational strategy.
That's a significant shift in mindset, but okay, they're investing the money. What are the challenges in actually getting employees to use these internal AI tools effectively? What does adoption look like?
Yeah, there's a bit of a gap there.
Yeah.
While a good majority, around 70% of employees, apparently have access to various AI tools internally.
70% have access.
Right. But only about half of them, 50%, are actually using these tools on an ongoing basis.
Only half are regular users. Why the gap?
The report suggests adoption is proving tougher in more mature, larger enterprises, those over $1 billion in revenue. Maybe it's ingrained habits, legacy systems, change management challenges.
Could be. And does the decision process for internal AI tools differ from customer-facing ones?
Yes, significantly. For internal use cases, cost is the most important factor, cited by 74%.
Cost over accuracy for internal tools?
Yep. Accuracy is still crucial, close behind at 72%, and privacy is important too at 50%. But cost really leads the way internally. It's a different optimization equation compared to external products where accuracy is usually paramount.
Interesting. And what are the biggest roadblocks to deploying these internal tools? Is it tech hurdles?
Not primarily, no. The biggest challenges seem to be more strategic. Finding the right use cases is number one at 46%, figuring out where AI can genuinely make a difference. Yeah. And number two is proving the ROI at 42%.
So it's less about can we build it and more about should we build it and how do we prove it's working?
Exactly. It's about integrating AI effectively into the daily workflow and demonstrating its value more than just the technical implementation.
Okay, so if finding the right use cases is key, how many are companies exploring? And which internal AI applications are actually delivering the biggest impact right now?
There seems to be a link between exploration and adoption. Companies that have high employee adoption, remember over 50% usage, they typically explore more use cases, around 7 or more internally. Compared to only about 4.6 use cases for companies with low adoption. So broader experimentation seems to correlate with more people actually using the tools.
Makes sense. Which departments are using AI most?
R&D leads the way. 77% are using AI there. Sales and marketing is also high at 65%. General and administrative functions like finance or HR lag a bit behind.
Okay, R&D and sales marketing are the hotspots. And the killer app. Which use case has the biggest impact?
By far, it's coding assistance. 65% cite that as having a tangible impact.
Coding assistance? Like GitHub Copilot?
Exactly. Respondents report an average productivity gain of 15–30% across these various GenAI use cases. But coding assistance seems to be the most consistently impactful one.
15 to 30% gain, that's substantial.
It really is. And again, high-growth companies are leaning into this more heavily. They see an average of 33% of their total code being written with AI assistance compared to 27% for other companies.
That coding assistance impact is really impressive. What's the general attitude towards internal AI, especially among those leading high-growth companies? Are they fully embracing it?
Yes, very much so. The report highlights that high-growth companies tend to be much more active in experimenting with and adopting new AI tools. 92% of them are doing this.
92%.
Yeah. It strongly suggests they view internal AI not just as a nice-to-have, but as a core strategic lever. They're moving faster to integrate it across their own workflows, likely seeing a clear competitive advantage in making their own teams more efficient with AI.
Right, it's like they're eating their own dog food, really leveraging AI internally as well. How are companies actually measuring the ROI for this internal AI use? What metrics are they tracking?
They're primarily focused on productivity improvements, that's 75%, and direct cost savings at 51%.
Okay, efficiency and cost reduction.
Right. And about 30% are tracking a mix of both quantitative measures, things like time saved, tasks completed faster, and qualitative measures, like employee satisfaction surveys or feedback on the tools, getting both the hard numbers and the user sentiment.
Okay, this is super insightful. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for the builders listening. If you're actually building this stuff, what are the specific tools and technologies powering all this innovation? Let's do a quick deep dive into the AI tech stack itself.
Absolutely. Let's break it down. For LLM and AI application development, kind of the core building blocks tools like LangChain and Hugging Face's toolset are really prominent for orchestration.
Orchestration meaning managing the flow between models and data.
Exactly. They act like the conductor of the AI orchestra. Guardrails tools are also important for safety checks, making sure outputs are okay. And Vercel's AI SDK pops up too, used by 23%, likely because it helps deploy things quickly. Then for model training and fine-tuning, the heavy lifters are PyTorch and TensorFlow. They account for over half of all usage. These are the classic deep learning frameworks.
Right.
But you also see popular managed services like AWS SageMaker and OpenAI's fine-tuning API being used a lot, showing that mix of DIY control and managed convenience. For monitoring and observability, keeping an eye on how things are performing, nearly half of teams are actually adapting their existing software monitoring tools like Datadog or Honeycomb.
Using what they already have.
Yeah. But specialized ML-native platforms like Langsmith and Weights and Biases are definitely gaining traction, hitting around 17% adoption. Suggests a growing need for AI-specific monitoring, inference optimization, making models run efficiently. It's heavily dominated by NVIDIA. Their TensorRT and Triton inference server command over 60% adoption.
NVIDIA is still the king of deployment hardware and software.
Pretty much. For non-NVIDIA solutions, OnNX Runtime is a notable player at 18%. Model hosting. Most teams just hit the model provider APIs directly, OpenAI, Anthropic, etc. But the big cloud hyperscalers, like AWS Bedrock and Google Vertex AI, have carved out a big chunk of the market, especially for larger, later-stage companies needing more integrated hosting solutions. Model evaluation, checking how good the models are. Nearly a quarter use built-in features from their platforms, but purpose-built tools like Langsmith and Langfuse are leading the dedicated evaluation tool space. Data processing and feature engineering, getting the data ready. It's the classic big data tools. Apache Spark at 44%, Kafka for streaming at 42%. And Pandas is still indispensable for Python data manipulation at 41%.
The workhorses of data engineering.
Exactly. Vector databases crucial for RAG, Elastic, and Pinecone are leading the pack, showing a mix of established players adapting and purpose-built solutions. Open source options are gaining ground too. Synthetic data and data augmentation, this is interesting, over half, 52%. Are building their own custom tooling for this.
Building their own synthetic data tools.
Yeah, shows how specific data needs can be. Scale AI is the clear third-party leader here, though, at 21%. Coding assistance, we talked about its impact. GitHub Copilot is the giant, used by almost 3/4 of dev teams, 75%. Cursor is a strong second at 50%.
Copilot is everywhere.
Almost. DevOps and MLOps managing the whole lifecycle. MLflow is the clear front-runner at 36%, followed by Weights and Biases at 20%. But the market here still feels pretty fragmented, lots of tools, product and design. It's basically Figma. 87% use it for UI UX. Miro is popular too at 37% for more high-level whiteboarding and collaboration. And finally, those internal productivity tools we discussed. You see AI features being baked into the platforms teams already use daily. Salesforce for sales, Canva for marketing, Zendesk for support, Notion for knowledge management, ServiceNow for IT, LinkedIn for HR. AI is becoming embedded everywhere.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has really given us an incredible real-world look into how companies are actually doing it, building, scaling, managing AI products, and just as importantly, how they're weaving AI into their own internal operations. It really feels like a view from the trenches.
I think so too. And it's more than just, interesting facts. It feels like a practical blueprint based on what hundreds of executives are actually experiencing and doing right now.
Yeah.
This data offers some really actionable insights, I think, for anyone trying to navigate AI development. Because, knowledge is great, but it's most valuable when you can actually understand it and apply it. This report gives a pretty solid roadmap for that.
Definitely. So as we wrap up here, thinking back over everything we've unpacked in this AI builder's playbook, what's the one big takeaway that really stands out to you?
It's a tough one. I think for me, it's the growing importance, almost the necessity now, of that multi-model strategy combined with rigorous cost management, especially around inference. It shows a real maturation moving from just can we make it work to how do we make it work efficiently, reliably, and affordably at scale. That feels like the current frontier.
That's a great point. The operational reality is setting in. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening to the paper. We saw that high-growth AI companies are already dedicating way more engineering resources to AI. They're spending significantly more on core costs like inference and data, and they're actively experimenting with all these new internal tools. So the question is, what fundamental shifts do other companies need to make in their talent strategy, their budgets, maybe even their company culture around AI to genuinely close that gap and compete effectively in this landscape that's just evolving so incredibly fast?